Yo, V, where the hoes at?
We just got back from Clouds.
Bruh, why you always vibe blocking?
Vibe blocking? Nigga, how about I turn into an immunoblocker and Thanos your ungrateful ass out my brain? You spent 25,000 eddies on some robo-coochie last night on my Arasaka company card, and you know them niggas looking for us.
Yo, V, chill. Don't blow my spot. You know alt listening on comms. You know what it never was? That serious. Damn, V. My fault. You right.
It's cool, bruh. Just know you never doing that shit again. We gotta lay low.
Yo, V, you know you my boy and shit, but Arasaka saw that 25 racks you spent in Clouds last night, and they just sent out MaxTac to come spin for that. They don't even want the money for real. They just doing it for the love of the game. Alright, my nigga. Peace.
Fuck.
Damn, V. What we about to do?
That's a great question, bruh. 'Cause you about to fight these niggas.
When you think of an open world RPG, what comes to mind? Fallout, The Witcher, Skyrim, Elden Ring? All of these titles are masterpieces in their own right and pushed boundaries that other games of their time couldn't. I mention these titles because they have these key features in common: replayability, seamless world immersion, captivating characters, and a great story attached to an iceberg of lore. And today, I'm going to try to plead the case as to why Cyberpunk 2077 not only belongs on this list, but why it does these things just as well, if not better, than its competitors. Before we get into everything, if you haven't played the game yet, I would only watch part 1 and then come back after you've played it. There will be some major spoilers throughout this video, so just giving you a heads up right now. But yeah, let's get into it. In your first playthrough, you can choose one of 3 pathways: Street Kid, Corpo, or Nomad. Whichever you choose doesn't affect you negatively, but can only help you gain favor with characters during dialogue in select situations. I love this my first time playing the game because it leaves the door open for you to come back and try a different pathway down the line. You can also attain multiple endings, dialogue outcomes, and befriend or romance certain characters. This gives you an incentive to explore and discover the hidden secrets of Night City. Couple that with the various amounts of NCPD dispatch calls, side jobs, hidden collectibles, purchasable items like cars, clothes, weapons, apartments, and cyberware. It gives you a multitude of reasons to just get lost and explore Night City in its entirety. Overall, I give the replayability an 8.5 out of 10. A good marker for how immersive an open world is how lived in it feels. Night City has a series of moving parts independent of each other that makes it feel like you're actually living in a major city instead of just playing a game completing tasks. The amount of NPC traffic, even though there are some quirks, the volume of car traffic on the roads, and seemingly endless amounts of vendors, drop points, ripper docks, clothing stores, weapon shops, apartments, night markets, and bars really fills in the gaps needed to make an open world truly work. In terms of traversing the map, the game offers you both the ability to fast travel or driving/walking to your destination. And a major green flag is that I almost never use the fast travel. I would sometimes even take longer routes to the checkpoint just to get a better view of the city. Leading to my next point, the map design. Night City's design is amazing because on the surface, it's a futuristic dreamscape, but beneath all of that is a harsh dystopia that sticks out like a sore thumb. A lot of what makes Night City stand out is its brutalism architecture style, the grit and grime look, and seeing the wealth gap as you move up or down between districts. It adds so much weight to the idea that you're stuck in this hellhole portion of the city, but through your efforts you can attain the finer things that it has to offer, while still maintaining the idea that the entire city is a hellhole, which is hard to do. The map and its layout are very well crafted, with there being several districts all belonging to a different set of gangs, and them all having a distinct look and feel. Tack that on to the random world events happening across the city, and you have a living, breathing map that the player becomes addicted to. Overall, I give the world immersion a 9.5 out of 10. That's honestly my personal biggest talking point about this game is the city. The layout is so amazing. I don't know, like every time I play this game, I just drive around. I literally don't do anything. I just drive around the map and just do random shit, because I can just literally just look at the map all day. Like it's amazing. It's really something to look at. Having characters apart from the protagonist that are deeply engaging, fleshed out, and not just a plot device to enhance the story are what really immortalizes a game in the mind of a player. And for me, I was skeptical when I first played Cyberpunk because the very first character introduction you get is to Jackie. I don't think CD Projekt Red did that relationship much justice, as you have one interaction with him and then there's just this montage of you guys doing shit together and becoming best friends. And even though I love Jackie and he still is a great character, this arc in the story just wasn't as fleshed out as it should have been and could have been. Honestly though, I just chalked that up to time constraints internally. Thankfully, however, the world building and character connections only get better as you progress. The several characters you're introduced to are unique because they each have their own motives, long-term goals, apprehensions, and they each possess their own story, which you as the player get a peek at when you do missions for them. Some good examples of this would be Wakako, the top fixer of the Westbrook district that is well connected to the Tiger Claws. She's cold when you start doing work for her, but if you do the missions with attention to detail and specific requests during these missions, she grows fond of you and more dialogue options pop up as you do work for her. If you pursue these dialogue options, you get to see her perspective of Night City, her background, and how she became a fixer in the first place. Judy, who is a highly skilled braindance technician and a member of a smaller gang called the Mox. You meet her in the build-up to the relic heist, and upon meeting her, you can tell that she has some apprehension about stealing the chip, and even tries to convince Evelyn that this job isn't worth it. After the heist clearly goes south, Judy's character growth continues as she comes to you for help finding Evelyn. Then after all is said and done, and obviously what happens after happens, she completes her goal of moving out of Night City to escape the madness. The interesting thing is, Judy, from the moment you meet her, is one of the more realistic characters in the game, because she doesn't care about the pursuit of being someone in Night City, she just wants to live a decent life. Then we have Panam, the leader of the Aldecaldo nomad group, who's struggling to keep her family together as she tries to juggle infighting, enemy nomad groups targeting their camp, and getting money to sustain their way of life. Like Wakako, Panam has an exterior shell, but as you progress through her storyline, the shell cracks and you begin to see that she's just a leader who is at a crossroads and is trying to do what's best for her and her clan. And then you have Rogue. One of the more interesting characters in the story, Rogue is a fixer and owner of the iconic club, the Afterlife. She's also a Night City legend that has outlasted all the others by politicking very well, looking out for herself, and playing it safe. She's the ideal model for aspiring Night City legends that don't plan on dying prematurely. Rogue is also very guarded. She doesn't crack until we tell her that we know Johnny personally because he's actually inside us?
Pause.
And Rogue just has so much aura, you can tell she's a badass from the very first time you meet her and the first interaction itself. Rogue is also similar to Judy in the sense that she doesn't like taking on jobs that are very risky. And it fits her character because why would you do that and you don't live for 80 plus years by doing dumb shit? And now, after saying that, that leads me into our last character example, which is Evelyn, a doll, which you can look up, but basically she's a human play toy for rich douchebags and perverts. Even in some cases, dudes with mommy issues, but that's not the point. Evelyn is one of the more tragic characters that mainly serves as a plot device to advance the story. But her story and suspense given by the writers for her character is top tier. Evelyn is just someone who's trying to make it in Night City just like us, and she's willing to potentially ruin her life or worse just because for her, staying at Clouds is a worse fate than death. Later in the story, you get a more in-depth look at the conditions at Clouds that puts you in her shoes, and it made me side with her a bit more, because working there essentially is physical and mental slavery. Another scene that intrigued me about her character is before the relic heist, you have to do a series of setups that are actually interesting. And for one of the setups, you have to analyze a braindance recording through the perspective of Evelyn. You start in an elevator up to Yorinobu Arasaka's hotel room, where upon your arrival, you come face to face with Adam f***ing Smasher. Add that onto the fact that he's sizing you up and is basically calling you, well,
you look like a kind of fuckable meat.
something inappropriate. Then of course you scout Yorinobu's apartment to see where the relic is hidden. But afterwards you see an interaction between Evelyn and Yorinobu. She was sizing him up in preparation to the heist, and this is where my respect for her goes to 100. She was face to face with Yorinobu's right-hand man, who is a psychotic chrome addict who only enjoys mutilating people, and still decided to go through with her plan, knowing this guy's probably gonna come after her. On top of sliming out the prince of the corporal world, essentially, she slimed out the voodoo boys, who are pretty much the boogeymen of Night City. Then slimed out Dex, who actually deserves everything that fucking happened to him. Then comes to you to split the cut between only you and her. Now, was this a horrible idea? Yes. Burning bridges with literal Avenger level threats and basically signing your death warrant is never a good idea. But do I respect her decisions? Yes, it takes literal balls of tungsten to pull off some shit like that, let alone having slim to no lethal level cyberware. Not a merc, not a corpo, not a nomad, but a doll. A doll with a dream. But, as all dreams are in Night City, they only ever stay dreams. The characters in this game all have a story worth uncovering, and the amount of depth they have makes you more engaged with every interaction. And this was the reason I was able to play the game over 4 times, because every time I did, I was learning something new about these characters and filling in the missing pieces of the story. Overall, I give the characters a 9 out of 10. Now, the story in Cyberpunk 2077. Is it perfect? Fuck no. But it is told well, and the message of the genre is made very clear. There are no happy endings. From the ending of the Relic Saga all the way up to the 9 endings you can get to close out the game, you're shown time and time again that the life of anyone in Night City can be forfeit at any moment, especially those who engage in criminal activity. The main and side stories do a great job setting the stage for bigger questions to be asked. 2 great examples of this are the missions I Walked the Line and I Fought the Law. In I Walk the Line, you work with the Voodoo Boys in an attempt to remove the relic as they ensure you they can safely remove it from your head. Obviously, they fucking slime you out and just attempt to use Johnny's engram. They do this because they're trying to go to the Black Wall and contact a mythical rogue AI, Alt, who happens to also be Johnny's ex-girlfriend. However, up to this point, as the player, you don't even really know what the Black Wall is. It's been whispered about here and there, but you really don't know what it is, and you're really interacting with it for the first time in this mission. And this is when the suspense factor reaches FromSoft level. Because at this point, not only am I thinking about how I'm gonna get my get back against Placide and fucking kill him, but I'm also thinking, what is the Black Wall and why are we trying to enter it? This isn't clearly laid out for you, and you're gonna have to do some digging both in-game and the game wiki, but this makes Night City so much more interesting. In I Fought the Law, you attempt to help a woman named Elizabeth Perales and her husband, Jefferson Perales, who happens to be a mayoral candidate. She contacts you to investigate the death of one of their peers who they believe was murdered rather than having a heart complication. As you progress through this storyline though, not only was Elizabeth right, but you discover that someone is possibly altering their minds and planting fake memories, essentially turning them into different people to get a favorable result in the election. You can choose to withhold this information, in which you will have minded your business and be paid, or tell them and have your number blocked, along with an ominous text being sent to you that seems off. Almost like whoever's behind it all has finally taken full control of Elizabeth and Jefferson. You can't contact them after this, and even before the side quest ends, you get a mysterious call that tells you not to dig too deep and to just play your role. This mission is so eerie that it sparked multiple Reddit threads where fellow players tried to theorize what really happened and who really is behind all of it. And to top it off, ladies and gentlemen, this is a side quest. This literally has no effect on the main story. This doesn't advance the plot. Nothing. It's a fucking side quest. But yet, it paints a picture of what Night City really is. Then, if you tack that on to the less talked about events like the Corpo Wars, Bio Plagues, the past Night City legends like Morgan Blackhand, Andrew Boa Boa Wayland, Susan Forrest, and several others, there's a melting pot of information that you're just left to discover as the player. The thing to keep in mind is that Cyberpunk as a genre started in the 80s, and the creator Mike Pondsmith has fleshed it out to contain decades worth of lore. And during the development of the game, CD Projekt Red consulted him every step of the way to ensure they were being as authentic as possible with a modern adaptation of the genre. And it's safe to say, I think they nailed it. I give the story and lore a 9.5 out of 10. Very engaging, just so much more to learn, and there's just more that we don't even know about that is probably going to be answered in the next game. So yeah, those are my 4 key reasons as to why this game was so good and why it still holds a special place in my heart, but every player's heart that came to love this game. But I would also be remiss and more so biased in my take to skip over all aspects of this game, including the release controversy. After its announcement in 2012, 4 years of full development in 2016, a series of delays and frustrated shareholders, Cyberpunk 2077 was released on December 10th, 2020. This was one of the worst releases for a game in industry history and stood as a cautionary tale for every other studio in the gaming space. And I also remember I pre-ordered this game and I was anticipating it for years, and thankfully at the time I had a PS5, so my experience wasn't horrible and I still ended up beating the game. But my friends who didn't have a PS5 at the time or a Series X, it was horrible. It was a bad experience. But after a Herculean effort by CD Projekt Red's development team, introducing several game fixing patches, graphical updates, a smash hit anime, and an enthralling game expansion that fans would come to love, CD Projekt Red turned their nightmare into a masterpiece. And it will be known as one of the greatest comeback stories of all time. This is not only what made Cyberpunk 2077 special, but what makes all games special. A team that cares about the art that they produce. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Catching a ride with the lady, her hair hangs down past her thighs.